Hi everyone, I'm Melody, the Director of Education at Novel Effect. Thank you for joining us for another Friday Favorite Read Aloud. Today we're going to be reading one of my favorite stories, Owl Moon by Jane Yolen. Make sure to stick around after the reading for a little Q&A session. I'll be answering some questions about the app, and I'm excited to share some information with you guys. So today for Owl Moon, we're just going to select Novel Effect from our phone. I've got this in my library as one of my favorites. And I'm going to press play. Owl Moon by Jane Yolen. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. There was no wind, the trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew, long and low, like a sad, sad song. I could hear it through the woolen cap Pa had pulled down over my ears. A farm dog answered the train, and then a second dog joined in. They sang out, trains and dogs, for a real long time, and when their voices faded away, it was as quiet as a dream. We walked on toward the woods, Pa and I. Our feet crunched over the crisp snow, and little gray footprints followed us. Pa made a long shadow, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short, round shadow bumped after me. But I never called out, "If you go owling, you have to be quiet." That's what Pa always says. I'd been waiting to go owling with Pa for a long, long time. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy against the sky, and Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was and waited. He looked up, as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made his face into a silver mask, and then he called, "Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo," the sounds of a great horned owl. "Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo." And again he called out, and then again, and after each call he was silent, and for a moment we both listened, but there was no answer. Pa shrugged and I shrugged. I was not disappointed. My brothers all said sometimes there's an owl, and sometimes there isn't. We walked on. I could feel the cold as if someone's icy hand was palmed down on my back and my nose, and the tops of my cheeks felt cold and hot at the same time. But I never said a word. If you go owling, you have to be quiet and make your own heat. We went into the woods. The shadows were the blackest things I'd ever seen. They stained the white snow. My mouth felt furry from the scarf over it. It was wet and warm. I didn't ask what kinds of things hide behind black trees in the middle of the night. When you go owling, you have to be brave. Then we came to a clearing in the dark woods. The moon was high above us. It seemed to fit exactly over the center of the clearing, and the snow below it was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. I sighed, and Pa held up his hand at the sound. I put my mittens over the scarf, over my mouth, and listened hard. And then Pa called, "Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, 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 hoo-hoo." I listened and looked so hard my ears hurt, and my eyes got cloudy with the cold. Pa raised his face to call out again, but before he could open his mouth, an echo came, threading its way through the trees. Pa almost smiled, and then he called back, "Woo-hoo, woo-hoo, woo-hoo," just as if he and the owl were talking about supper, or about the woods, or the moon, or the cold. I took my mitten off the scarf, off my mouth, and I almost smiled too. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, we stared at one another. Then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without sound. It flew back into the forest. "Time to go home," Pa said to me. I knew then I could talk. I could even laugh out loud. But I was a shadow as we walked home. When you go owling, you don't need words or warm or anything but hope. That's what Pa says. the kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. The end. Well, thank you so much. I love that story. It's one of my favorites by one of my favorite authors, and it's an absolutely beautiful soundscape. Really reflects the imagery and the beautiful theme of the story and the poetry of it. So now I'm going to answer a couple of questions that folks have sent in about Novel Effect. We had asked people to send us some questions for a Q&A, so just want to settle down to that. We have a couple of them. So the first one is, how does Novel Effect help with students in special education classes? And this is something that's near and dear to my heart because I have for a long time worked with students with visual impairments. We developed Novel Effect for typical children, but we do get special educators that let us know how it's helped children in their classes. And one of the biggest ways is to keep kids engaged in story time in sort of a new way, because we present information auditorily through hearing as well as visually through the story. And that the music element also, I think, motivates children within special education to pay close attention to the story in kind of a new and different way and holds their attention. Students with communication disorders, students with autism, music can sometimes be really grounding for them during educational activities, and because music is an element of our soundscapes, it works pretty well. Specifically for students with visual impairments, the Novel Effect has really provided a new way for students to access information about what's going on in the page, the visual information that we haven't really had before in our field. So that's really exciting. So when you have a story that's very much based on pictures, by providing audio sounds, whether it be the sound effect of wings flapping or animals making noises or whatever it is that you are representing from the page, through audio information, that can be really helpful for children with visual impairments. So that's a great question. Thank you. Another question that came was, how many owls have you seen? I have actually never seen an owl in the wild, but I have seen a few in zoos, and I think that this book does a really good job of kind of showing us how it can be really difficult to find owls, and you have to be very quiet. I'm not a quiet person, so maybe that's why I've never really seen one. And another question we got was, what do I like about this book and the soundscape that goes along with it? This book is sort of like a poem. It's very beautiful, it's very quiet, and it's very rich in imagery, and I think that the soundscape does a lot to bring out the imagery in a very respectful way to the tone of the story, which we do try to do with all of our soundscapes here as we develop them. But in particular, it's about being quiet, it's about being respectful, it's about being sort of observant of your surroundings. And I think the soundscape does a great job of balancing all that out, but still providing us with a really interesting musical background and little sound effects here and there that we can hear along with the characters in the story. And I really love that. Another question that came in was, have I seen a picture with a duck and a baby owl? I have not seen that, but I'm going to look at it right now. Oh my goodness. Apparently this duck is they're together, they're brother and sister. I don't really know, but you can look at it. That's absolutely adorable. Cute. Cool. All right. That last one was a little silly, but I loved it. I love baby animals. Okay, well, join us next week for another Friday Favorite Read Aloud. We hope that you enjoyed this one, and if you ever have any questions for us, please feel to post them on our Facebook page or request stories that we read aloud or whatever you'd like, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you. Bye.